fellow war workers, all over the country, people are asking searching questions concerning the nature and progress of the war in the Pacific. Here is one example. This is from a manufacturer in the aircraft industry. And it reads, "Dear Admiral, we have been increasingly conscious of a growing feeling among the people in our plant that our job is fast coming to an end. We feel that this attitude is responsible for the fact that some people are actually leaving their job. If this trend continues, we may have difficulty meeting our schedules. What are the facts today? What can we tell our people about the job ahead? What are the facts today? What can we tell our people about the job ahead?" Those questions are being asked again and again with good reason. The news has been good. The headlines have been encouraging. But those headlines tell only a part of the story. They do not tell the kind of enemy we face, the battleground on which we must fight, and the problems peculiar to that enemy and that battleground. A lot of people don't realize how big Japan is. On the map, Japan looks small. The home islands are about the size of California. But the empire of Japan would outreach the North American coastline from Newfoundland to Florida. And the area under Japanese domination is considerably larger than the United States. This empire of theirs is rich in natural resources. They own all the raw materials for modern warfare: coal, rubber, tin, oil. Above all, they are rich in manpower. In the Japanese islands alone, there are more than 105 million people. That's more than there were in Germany before the war. Almost 3 times as many as there are in England. Almost as many as there are in this country. 105 million people in Japan. And that total is swelled by many more millions of people enslaved by their conquests. Another factor that we have to face is the character of the Japanese people. That character is made up of a combination of religion, patriotism, and emperor worship that has no parallel among the civilized nations of the world. The Japanese are fighting a religious war for their emperor, who is their god. The soldier is taught from childhood that to die for the emperor is to become a god himself, and that to surrender is to bring disgrace upon himself and his family. The Jap who surrenders can never return to his home. As a result, the nation reveres war and idolizes its soldiers. As they put it, The cherry blossom is the best of flowers. The soldier is the best of men. Their training is religious in its fervor and animal in its blind obedience to command. Complete disregard for life is part of their fanaticism. Only recently have they provided protection for the pilots of their planes. Life is held cheaply in Japan. We are now in the 4th year of war with this enemy. We have learned how he fights. We have won some decisive victories. But these victories should not lead us to conclude that the war in the Pacific is won. We have a long, laborious road to travel. Let's look back at some of those victories. We took the Gilbert Islands in November 1943. We killed more than 5,000 Japanese, took very few prisoners, and we suffered heavy casualties. In February 1944, we took Kwajalein, killed more than 8,000 of the enemy, captured 264. In June 1944, we completed the capture of Saipan. We took about 1,600 prisoners, but we buried more than 25,000 Japanese. In July and August, we occupied Tinian and Guam, and then in October, we moved into the Palau Islands. Always the story was the same. Few prisoners, many killed. We had to blast them out with terrific bombardments and then burn them out with flamethrowers. To capture a Japanese was unusual. In Europe, we have taken almost 20 German prisoners for every German killed. But in the Pacific, it's been a different story. There, we've taken about 1 prisoner for every 20 Japanese killed. That is Japanese fanaticism. But let's look further at these victories. At Tarawa, we encountered a defending force estimated a little more than 5,000. An estimated 10,000 defended Kwajalein. There were between 25 and 30,000 at Saipan. Approximately 6,000 at Tinian. Perhaps 20,000 at Guam. 25,000 in the Palaus. And some 75,000 involved in the original action at Leyte. That is only part of the picture. But note that in those engagements, we encountered less than 200,000 Japanese troops. And their total strength, according to various available estimates, is between 5 and 8 million men, with 70% of this strength concentrated in Manchukuo and Japan's home islands. Meanwhile, as we reach out to wrest conquered lands from the Japanese, our lines of supply grow longer. Theirs grow shorter. In the last year, our lines have stretched more than 3,000 miles. In the Philippines, we are operating approximately 7,000 miles from our own west coast. Let's stop for a moment to appreciate the significance of a supply line 7,000 miles long. Suppose we need, in the Philippines, a tanker full of 100-octane gasoline every day. It takes about 30 days for a tanker, traveling 240 miles a day to get there. That means 30 tankers on the way every day, and 30 more on the way back every day. And there must be, say, 10 more loading and unloading at the ends of the supply line. That means a total of 70 tankers constantly in service to ensure the availability of one tanker where we need it. Repeat that story for ammunition, food, equipment, supplies, spare parts. For every 240 miles that we advance, we must put 2 more ships in service for each daily shipload of material that we require. As we approach the inner defenses of Japan, we face the power of Japanese land-based bombers in increasing numbers. For while we were advancing in the Pacific and sinking their aircraft carriers, the Japanese were perfecting their inner defenses and building hundreds of island airstrips that cannot be sunk. And from airstrips like these, Japanese bombers menace every move we make. Moreover, our airmen today are encountering new enemy planes of vastly increased performance and firepower, presenting a challenge to our superiority, which only constant effort on our production fronts can meet. Our losses and our casualties will increase as we get closer to Japan. But these losses must be accepted as the price of war. And we must be prepared to replace these losses quickly from our home production lines. These are unpleasant but fundamental facts which do not appear in the headlines. Win, we will, but it will take toil, tears, and time. From the facts as we know them, there is absolutely no reason to think that this war is nearly over. There is no justification for complacency. There is no excuse for overconfidence. We face a willful and determined enemy. What can we tell our people? The only way I can answer that question is to state the facts and let you draw your own conclusions. In my opinion, the Japanese are now fighting a delaying action. They hope that our people will tire of the war, its casualties, and its costs. They hope that we will be satisfied with a negotiated peace, leaving the Japanese with much of their stolen empire and the nucleus of strength to start this Holocaust all over again. We have a solemn obligation to the generations of Americans to come to see to it that this does not happen. It will take courage and sacrifice to bring about the ultimate defeat of Japan. But our future can begin only after victory is final and complete. Each of us must stick with our job until the end. Each of us must consider our tools, our workbench, or our desk as our battle station, not to be deserted until the battle is won. All of us must dedicate ourselves to the task of winning this war. We must match the courage and sacrifice of these gallant soldiers who sleep in final peace on this Pacific island. Let us finish the job which they began so well. Let our reply to them be, we will keep faith with you.